It's something there you can make an excuse about.
Right.
And that's the issue about today's society is that everyone wants excuses. We're mentally wired to have negativity in our life.
I actually started promoting for nightclubs.
No, you were a promoter.
I was a promoter for nightclubs.
Oh, life is the Hunger Games. Business is the Hunger Games. The space that you and I are in, private equity, it's the Hunger Games. My knowledge, number one thing SEC really gets you on is misrepresentation.
Welcome to the Chris Salerno Show, your go-to for real estate, business, health, and family insight. I'm Chris Salerno, CEO of QC Capital. Each episode, we explore the latest trends and expert advice from industry leaders. Whether you're an investor, entrepreneur, or seeking balance, this show provides an inspiration you need. Join us and elevate your game on the Chris Salerno Show.
Welcome to the Chris Salerno Show. I'm your host, Chris Salerno. Very excited to have a friend of mine. We've known each other for what, 5-6 years now?
I think so, man.
Time flies.
It does.
When you're having fun. Seth on here, SEC attorney, doing a bunch of things. Excited to have him on here. A wealth of knowledge. Seth, thanks so much for joining us.
Dude, appreciate you having me on.
And
I appreciate you reaching out and inviting me over for the show.
Most definitely. And I'm glad it happened when it did because you're in town. You live out in the beautiful, I would say you guys have great weather and great In-N-Out burger.
Yeah.
Your tax and politics suck.
That's right. I agree.
But California, which is beautiful weather out there, you happen to be in Charlotte for fitness, which we'll touch on here in a second. But I'm glad we were able to make this work.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, it's good timing. Really
Most
good
definitely.
timing.
So let's give everyone a little background about yourself, all the way from childhood. Talk to us about that.
Sure, man. Yeah, and I think it helps build the story. I'm adopted, so I was born in South Korea and adopted at 3 months old, and then by two wonderful people in West Virginia, rural West Virginia.
Well, that's different.
So, I'm the only Asian in rural
West Virginia.
Yeah, so I went to high school with like 1,800 kids.
Country, moonshiners.
Yes, for sure.
Oh,
Good people. I love West Virginia.
Great.
Love it.
I love Snowshoe. Snowshoe's really good.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
Underrated.
Best on the East Coast, or best close to North Carolina, I would say, unless you get way up north. But yeah, North Carolina, anything close, Snowshoe's where it's at.
Yeah, I love it. But yeah, man, grew up in rural West Virginia, so wasn't really exposed to entrepreneurship or owning real estate or anything like that. My parents are both blue collar. My dad is a coal miner, was a coal miner, he's retired now. Wow. My mom was a grade school teacher. So, I didn't come from entrepreneurship.
Are they still in West Virginia?
Yes, they are.
Okay,
yeah,
so they're
I
still
make
there.
frequent trips back.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, so wasn't exposed to that stuff. So it was all about kind of getting the best job that you could possibly get, right?
Talk to us about that mentality. You were young.
Yeah.
What age did you come over to the U.S.?
3 months.
3 months.
3 months,
So you didn't even spend time in South Korea. You didn't even know of it.
No, not at all.
Are you curious now, with you being adopted, anything about, where you came from, anything like that?
Actually not, man.
No?
I think a lot of adoptees struggle with that.
Yeah.
I actually joined a Facebook group one time with Korean adoptees, and there's like thousands of them in there. And I was thinking, I'm going to gain some insight from this.
But it was like, no.
And it was a lot of, to be blunt, a lot of whining.
Really?
In my mind.
A lot of crying.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
Right. I'm about accountability and just going out there and getting it done. And, it's just about, a lot of...
I say this all the time. You can't control the cards you are dealt. You can only control how you deal them.
Sure.
Sure. Unfortunately, or it's a great thing. It's not unfortunate. It's fortunately you were adopted at 3 months.
Yeah.
You couldn't control that.
Right.
You couldn't control being born in South Korea and being adopted, but you have to control the cards you were dealt, and you've done a phenomenal job. You're a badass attorney, phenomenal job with the cards you were dealt.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see being in those type of groups, you're going to get a lot of whining and moaning.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a couple things, right? I mean, some people have a reason to quote unquote whine and moan, right?
Yeah.
They're dealt a bad hand, but again, like you said, you've got to play the cards you're dealt, right? And do the best you can with it. And I think that if you are adopted, it's easy to go and blame it on that. It's an easy crutch to lean on.
It's an excuse. It's something there you can make an excuse about.
Right.
And that's the issue about today's society is that everyone wants excuses. We're mentally wired to have negativity in our life. And so they're going to make an excuse. Oh, I'm not successful because of this, because of this. That's a lie. You are highly successful, an attorney, a beautiful wife, doing great things in business and in the real estate industry. So you are proof that you can get it done. You just have to work hard.
Yeah, you just have to work hard. You can't blame shift. I like
No,
to call it.
100%.
You can't blame it on the cards you were dealt, or the things that may have happened to you, or the situations you're in. You've got to just move forward
Definitely.
and do the best that you can.
So dad was a coal miner.
Yep.
Mom was a school teacher.
Yep.
What made you want to say, "Hey, I'm going to go into law school and be an attorney"?
Yeah, it was a little bit more of a story behind that. First of all, I went into medicine, so I wanted to be a doctor.
All right.
Well, I wouldn't say I wanted to be a doctor. It was more like, what's the best job that I can get?
Yeah.
With the mindset that I had, my mindset was W-2 worker type of mindset, right?
Yeah,
like
most
not
definitely.
entrepreneurial, not
9
business.
to 5. All that.
and
Don't take risks.
Yeah, and it was, and I, academically, it was pretty easy for me. So it was just, okay, what's the best job you can get? It's probably being a doctor, right? Like that's kind of the highest calling. And I actually went to med school for a year and a half.
Really?
Yeah, and then I dropped out halfway through my second year. I literally just
No way.
got up in the middle of class, walked out, and said, "I've had it."
My goodness. So I went pre-med biology.
Oh, did you? I didn't know that.
I went pre-med biology, chemistry and biology whooped my butt.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'm going to business entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Switched business entrepreneurship. And I said, maybe it wasn't chemistry and biology, it was just college in general.
Yeah.
So I dropped out of college. But you got to med school and you're like, okay, I'm done with this.
Yep.
And then what?
Yep. Honestly, that was a turning point in my life. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Right. Like I committed a large portion of my life to
Schooling,
taking the MCAT, getting into med school, finishing.
and that's
my
not
first year.
easy either.
No, not easy.
Med school's hard.
Very hard, very hard. But I've always had an interest in business and real estate, just kind of in the background.
Yeah.
Like I just always had an interest in it. Didn't really know how to act on it at the time. So I actually just started enrolling in business classes like immediately.
Really?
And I ended up getting a minor in business for the rest of that year.
Wow.
So I in undergrad classes. And then I started up my MBA actually the following year. So got my MBA. And then I decided to take it the next step and go ahead and get my law degree because I was still in that same mindset. It was like, this isn't enough. I didn't really know anything about starting a business or anything like that. And I just felt like I hadn't done enough. So I went ahead and went to law school. And at that point I did decide, I was like, look, I'm gonna finish this, whether it's the right thing or not. And I was very successful at it. I finished towards the top of my class.
Love that.
Dedicated, at the time and effort it needed, and did really well. So
Love that. And so getting in, what made you want to move out to California, number one?
On a whim, man. So
Really?
dropped out of med school, kind of took those business classes, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do
So
next.
on the other side of the world.
I'm in West Virginia still at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, in West Virginia, trying to figure it out. And I just knew I needed to get out of there.
Really?
I needed to see more. I needed
What's
to
mom
get
and
out of West
dad
Virginia.
saying?
It was a tough conversation to have, right?
Yeah.
Like all my family and friends are there. I just dropped out of medical school, so now they're like,
"What's going on?
What the hell is this kid doing?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like dropping out of med school, but they've always been supportive. Always been
Love
supportive.
that.
Always
Love
been
that.
supportive. They never like pushed me into medicine or anything like that. And then when I dropped out, they're still staying supportive. But I'm sure in the background they're thinking,
What the hell are you doing? Yeah.
And then I just decided to up and leave and move to Los Angeles out of nowhere.
Unbelievable.
Nowhere.
Unbelievable. So you moved out to Los Angeles.
Yep.
How was that?
Well, I partied for a little bit.
Yeah, for a little bit.
For-
They know how to party out
Yeah,
there.
for a little bit. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was enrolled, getting my MBA at the time, mostly online at Arizona State. So I kept the education going, but at the same time, I'm in LA. I'm in a new city.
Oh, yeah.
I actually started promoting for nightclubs. if you
No,
wouldn't believe
you
it.
were a promoter.
I was a promoter for nightclubs.
Oh, my
for
goodness.
A little over a year in Los Angeles before I decided, hey, I got to get my shit together.
Yeah,
right?
well, I mean, you'll definitely meet a lot of women doing that.
For sure. You get paid basically per head on how many women you bring in the club.
Oh, yeah.
You've got a bottle or two waiting for you every single night.
Yep.
It's actually a pretty nice little lifestyle for somebody in their 20s.
Oh yeah, I believe it. If you want, if you want to get some experience, get out there. It's best. You can meet a lot of women too.
Yeah, and it's a good it's kind of a sales experience. To
It
be
is,
honest with
yeah,
you. You're
most
just forced.
definitely.
You're like, hey, I'm getting paid $10 a head to bring beautiful women to this club. I got to go out there and just talk to everybody.
That's
so
it.
Literally just going out there talking. Hey, come to this club tonight. We've got bottles, all this kind of stuff, and
Wow, unbelievable. So from there, you were like, okay, I got to get my shit together.
Yeah, had to get my shit together. Obviously, I'm still getting educated in the background, getting my MBA, still kind of keeping the education going.
Oh yeah.
But I decided, hey, I'm going to go to law school. So I started applying to law schools. Ended up getting accepted to a number of ones, and I narrowed it down to USD in San Diego because I wanted to stay in Southern California because I loved it. But I knew I didn't want to be in LA.
Yeah.
So got out of LA, went down to San Diego because I had visited there a couple times and I just loved it. It's just more of a laid back attitude. People were a lot more genuine. Just a place that I could see settling down at compared to LA. It's just, it's kind of dog eat dog there.
It is. It's a hunger. Life is the Hunger Games. Business is the Hunger Games. The space that you and I are in, private equity, it's the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
And you have to have that mentality. You have to be able to survive.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So from there, you're like, okay, law school it is.
Yep.
And then you get into law school. Well, in law school, or even prior to that, there's so many different levels of law you can practice.
Yeah.
What made you, pick SEC? And prior to that, did you have any other interest in different type of law?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I knew I wanted to get into transactional law. I didn't want to be a litigator, that's for sure. I was interested in business, interested in doing deals, those sorts of things. So I started out actually at a pretty big law firm, Steptoe & Johnson, and ended up doing both real estate and corporate.
I think that's when we first met.
It might have been.
Yeah. When you were, because they were out, in San Diego or?
No, actually, I had to move back to West Virginia for that job.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you were just finishing there.
Yeah.
When we met.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think we met when I was in Charlotte, because I moved to Charlotte for another big law firm.
I think so.
But anyways, yeah. So I started kind of more general transactional practice with real estate and corporate. And then as I kind of got more mature and more experience, I started focusing more on the security side.
Nice. Do you enjoy the security side?
For sure.
Yeah.
The security side it feels a lot more sophisticated. I like the people that I work with in that field a little bit more. But I still have a passion for real estate. Like I still love real estate. So even though I'm a securities attorney, it's largely focused on real estate.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. For those individuals that may not know what a security is, most will know what a security is. Let's talk about that. And let's talk about, the day-to-day. What does a security attorney really look like?
Sure. I mean, the easy way to put it for a security, because people kind of misunderstand it, but if you have passive investors involved at all, anywhere, even if it's one, you're probably,
even if it's an LLC,
you're probably dealing with a security, and you're dealing with the SEC regulations, and you need a securities attorney to advise you because there are lots of things to navigate that you're probably not aware of, and that your real estate attorney probably doesn't have the knowledge know how to deal with.
Most definitely.
And I see that mistake being made quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. No, I see that on social media all the time.
For sure.
All the time on social media. And it comes down to even with words you say. Like, you have to be very, very careful you're not misleading whatsoever.
Yep.
What do you find the most common maybe mistake your syndicators or fund managers do in the syndication world?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most common mistake is just not even realizing that they're under the securities regime, right? Like they're just like, oh, well, I'm just raising I'm getting some investors from my family and friends, and they think because it's family and friends, maybe that it's okay, but it's not. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter if it's your family or friends or a stranger off the streets. You're dealing with securities, and you have to deal with those securities regulations that come along with it. So I think just not knowing that. Or maybe kind of turning a blind cheek to it is more like it. I think people nowadays have a pretty good idea because it is kind of out there now.
Oh,
right? Like
yeah.
a lot of people
everyone's on social media. They're all talking about it. The biggest thing, too, is you don't want to not know and you don't want to turn that cheek. Because something to know is that SEC has unlimited money. And they will milk you dry. So you might as well spend the money ahead of time, find you a good SEC attorney like Seth, to make sure that they don't milk you dry, because they will milk you dry. Then they'll throw you in a little 4x6 cell, and it's not going to be fun.
If you didn't know, they can print money.
Yeah. So if you're going up against someone who can print money, and you necessarily can't print like they can print.
Exactly.
So you got to be careful.
And that's not to mention the state commissioners too.
Yeah.
So you've got the SEC to deal with, as well as the state securities commissioners.
Which people don't realize that there's a federal and a state level too.
Right.
And it's super important to understand what state you're doing business in and what state your investors are coming from. And it's super important to understand at a state and federal level.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a and if something happens, it's a full blown investigation. I mean, it's just like a subpoena, or maybe you will get subpoenaed, but they're asking for everything. They're asking for text, they're asking for emails, they're asking for phone logs, they're asking
and give it to them. Like don't even, because if you don't, they're gonna get it.
They're gonna find it.
Yeah, I mean they're just gonna subpoena you on it, and the judge is gonna make you do it, or they'll throw you in jail. So no matter what, give it to them, and then address every single situation, or issue that they bring up.
For sure.
I think it's super important. We just talked about this on the other podcast, is be transparent.
Yeah.
Be transparent, because if not, they have unlimited capital.
Absolutely.
They're going to come and get you no matter what.
And if being transparent makes you nervous, then maybe think about the way you're doing business, right?
I mean, you should be able to be transparent. And just like I said on the other podcast, a big investor that we interviewed on the other podcast, and I said, during 2023, as you know, interest rates spiked.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. And a lot of syndicators were not transparent. A lot of them went ghost. A lot of them were just like, screw this, I'm done. And we doubled down. We went from monthly communication to bi-weekly communication, which is a lot more on our team, but we did it to over-communicate. We didn't have to, because our SEC doc said just once a month. We could have just sticked to once a month. But we decided to double down. And that right there, over-communicating, saying, hey, this is what's going on. It's out of our control, but this is what we're doing to make sure we can control this. I think is super important when you're a syndicator, fund manager, you name it, when you're dealing and having investors involved.
100%, man. 100%. And you are able to control the narrative that way too.
Correct.
Right? Like if the passive investors are sitting there and they're reading the headlines and they're seeing the interest rate spike and they're hearing about multifamily going down the tubes and all this stuff, and that's not necessarily true. Not all of those things are true. It could be market specific, deal specific, those sorts of things. But if you're not in constant communication with them, letting them know, hey, this is what's going on with this deal. Maybe this deal is going great. Maybe this one's not going as well. Here's what we're doing to fix it. It goes a long ways
100%. And
for their trust.
You're going to have an upset investor. You are.
Course.
If you have, 20, 50, 100 investors, one's going to be upset.
Right.
And if you ever got audited, you can go back and say, look at all of our communication.
Right.
Like read through all of our communication. We were transparent about everything.
Right.
They're going to look back and be like, okay, it's just a pissed off investor.
Yeah, for sure. And it's super, communication is the biggest, I think, thing that is lost in
100%.
Raising capital.
And also, being transparent with the communication, because number one, from my knowledge, number one thing SEC really gets you on is misrepresentation.
Absolutely.
And if you're not being transparent on it with everything on there, boom, it will be a very ugly day for you.
For sure. Be transparent. Obviously the things that you leave out as well, like if there are key material things that you're leaving out and then you've disclosed all these things, let's say down the line to the SEC or a state commissioner, like what in the world? This doesn't sound like you're representing this deal like it really was at this time. And maybe they're going back and looking at your records, looking at your financial statements and seeing how that deal was going. It wasn't going great. It was going terrible.
Yep.
And you're saying that everything is great. Well,
that's not being transparent.
Right.
You're not communicating that with the investors.
Right.
Yeah. No, I think that's super important. What have you seen, over 2023 dealing with, securities, talking with other fund managers, things like that? What have you seen, during last year with interest rate hikes?
Man, there was a little bit of blood in the streets, right? A lot of these deals that had short-term loans, that had, the variable loan rates struggled.
Yeah,
right?
A lot of people that
Struggled
didn't get
with cash
caps.
flow.
They didn't get rate caps.
Right. Or the cap expired.
Or their cap expired, and they didn't have enough money in reserves to buy an extension on the cap.
Yep.
And that was huge. That was huge. One of our deals had 2024 expiration, and we bought beginning of 2023, end of 2022 rate cap to extend it to 2025. And I'm so glad we did it.
Yeah.
It was perfect timing, because that same rate cap would have been $1 million, and we only spent like $400,000.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so you're seeing a little bit of blood in the streets. I think right now what's happening, banks are allowing for some leniency with their loans.
They don't want to have the property.
No, absolutely.
And it looks terrible if they do have the property on their balance sheet. Plus, I think this go around, because the first thing they said is we're going to foreclose on everyone. We're taking everyone's property. Then they realize, well, shit, I got a ton of property and no one wants to buy it.
Yeah.
You know, so I think they've learned their lesson.
Yep.
And now they are like, okay, we don't want to foreclose because no one's going to buy it. And if they do buy it, we're still going to take a huge loss.
Right.
So let's go ahead and see what we can do to work things out. You know, if the property's really, really not bad, let's see what we can do to work things out because it will rebound.
Yes.
It's coming back around.
Yeah. But I do think, you know, we're kicking the can down the road. They're giving extensions, those sorts of things. And we're all banking that the interest rates are going to go down at some point, right? Yeah. So we're hoping for that. I think that they will.
I think we're going to see one before the election.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a quarter point before the election.
Yeah, yeah.
I think some politics have gotten into Jerome Powell's head.
No way.
Yeah, I know, right?
No way. Couldn't. No.
I think they had a nice little cigar dinner or something, and I think they got in his head. So I think you'll see one before the election of this year.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, you know, it's going to be a wild election too.
Yep.
Not wanting to dive deep in politics, but it's definitely going to be a wild one. Talk to us about, you know, the California lifestyle. What are you doing right now? You also, your wife, beautiful wife, has a great business you guys are running. That's why you're here in Charlotte.
Yep.
Talk to us a little bit about that and why you guys got into that too.
Yeah, so we started, we bought 2 Burn Boot Camp franchises. Yeah. So my wife luckily runs those.
There you
helped
go.
her get them off the ground, and now she's crushing it. Yeah. So letting her run with those, and they're going really, really well. Lifestyle in California, you can't beat it, man. I mean, San Diego's unbelievable.
Oh, it's beautiful down there.
The weather, everything, kind of like how you said earlier in the show. I mean, if you can afford to live there, one, because it is really expensive.
Oh, I know.
And if you can deal with the politics, then there's no better place in the United States to live, that's for sure.
Really, there's not. You know, I just wish they had better politics over there. But yeah, the weather out there is so beautiful. You really can't beat it. Yeah. You can't beat it. You know, let's talk about health because you guys own those Burn Boot Camps. They're huge in Charlotte. Their headquarters here in Charlotte. That's where it was founded. And tell us a little bit about what Burn Boot Camp is. And then also I'm going to want you to touch on, like, how are you optimizing your health to be the phenomenal husband that you are, to operate, you know, businesses and getting involved in real estate. Talk to us about that.
Sure, man. Yeah, Burn Boot Camp, it's a boutique fitness franchise. You know, it's boot camp style workouts. No workouts the same. It's incredible, and it's focused on women. It's focused on empowering, inspiring.
So if you're a
women.
single man, you should go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I will say I've been taking up hot yoga lately. Hot yoga is good. And for those single men out there, go to hot yoga. I'm just saying.
There we go. Yeah. Gym's not a bad place to pick up women.
Yeah. Plus, the great thing, too, is that there's no filters. You can't have filters at the gym. Yeah. And more than likely, they're not going there with makeup on. So it's a good place to filter out what women you want.
There you go. A little different than the apps, right?
Yeah, I know. So it's geared more towards women.
It is geared towards women, but I work out there every day. I mean, that's where I work out now. Like that's what I do.
I love the total body
workout.
workouts. Yeah. I love the total body workouts. You go in, like in Orange Theory, you go in 1 hour, boom, you're done. You're going about your day.
Exactly. Hour in and out of there. And for guys like us that have a million things to do, like
that's all we want.
It's unbeatable. And I want somebody telling me what to do. Right?
I was just going to say that. I don't want, and I work out by myself now, and it's so much easier showing up. You tell me to shut up, go do this, do that, get it done, boom, okay, I'm all about my day.
Tell me what to do, right? Yeah. Just tell me what to do.
I will tell you, I've been to the gym, and there's been times I've had business on my mind that I'm like, wait, okay, so I'm at the gym, what do I need to do? Like,
right. If you're sitting at like a 24-hour fitness or something
I work
like
out
that.
At Lifetime, I live right behind it, and I walk in there sometimes because of my long days, and I'm like, shit, what do I want to do today? Like, because my mind is business, fitness. Yeah. It's so much easier showing up, having someone said, hey, we got all these set workouts. You're going to knock these out and be done.
They make you focus on the workout at that point.
I love that.
Instead of, business or whatever, listen to a podcast or something else.
What got you guys interested in opening up one of those?
I hope you're enjoying today's episode. Just a quick reminder to make sure you never miss an episode. Stay connected with us by following us on social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, TikTok at Chris_Salerno_. And don't forget to subscribe to YouTube to catch the video versions of our episode. You'll get exclusive content, behind-the-scenes footage, and much more. Head over to YouTube, Chris_Salerno now, and hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned because we've got more great content coming right after this.
Actually, because my wife worked out at one here in Charlotte.
Really? So
Yeah.
she was working out at one.
She was working out at one here in Charlotte, and then we moved back to the West Coast because I took a job here in Charlotte for a little bit. Then we moved back to the West Coast, and I was looking to start a business. I was looking for something recession resistant outside of real estate. So I was already investing in real estate, but looking for a business.
Most definitely.
Outside of real estate. I looked at liquor stores. I looked at laundromats, and then she turned me on to Burn Bootcamp, which is not recession resistant. Let's put it that way. But at the same time, they're really good salesmen. Looked like a great business model, turned out to be awesome. Although,
most definitely.
Yeah, circumstances weren't great. We opened 2 weeks before COVID hit.
Ooh,
but
talk to us about that. You know, opening and we all know California. They locked down like.
Oh yeah,
they locked down.
Absolutely.
You can't even go get your mail out of your house.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that. Opening up a business right before COVID and being in California, where they were basically Nazis out there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we opened up 2 weeks in, and we didn't have any paying members because we were all on. They were all on like a free membership.
Try it one, yeah.
So then we had to shut it down. We had to move inside. We had to move outside. We did online workouts every single day. Post them
You guys
on Facebook.
pivoted.
Yeah, we pivoted. We did whatever we had to do to keep the lights on.
Wow.
So literally, our lead trainer and business partner was in our apartment leading online workouts, and me and my wife Allison are in the background, like a music workout video. Yeah,
wow,
in the background.
really?
But it did keep us in shape during COVID because we worked out every single day because we had to make those videos.
You had to.
Yeah, but it was ridiculous out in California, man. They shut down the beaches. They shut down the water. You weren't allowed to be in the ocean.
What?
You weren't allowed to be in the ocean because they said it got transmitted through the water at one point. So
are you serious?
So they kicked the surfers out of the water, and you kick the surfers out of the water in San Diego.
You got some pissed off people.
You got a big problem.
Yeah.
But there are like all these, Instagram videos, the cops chasing surfers down the beach, and the guy just dropping his surfboard and running.
It transmitted through the water.
Yeah, insane. But
that's new.
So we had to deal with that.
Heard that one.
Inside, outside, online, inside, outside. Eventually, we blacked out our windows, so you couldn't see in it because we got actually attacked by an Instagram person that ended up going viral because they said, "Hey, you're the reason that the disease is spreading because of businesses like yours." And
are you serious?
And they filmed us from the outside into the windows, and it went viral.
No way.
And it went viral, and then finally we ended up blacking out the windows and just stayed open because at that point. It was like either do your own thing and stay open.
Oh, yeah.
Or we're going out of business.
Yeah, you got to shut shop. And this is a venture you just opened up. Yep. No one knew COVID is coming. And all of a sudden, boom, COVID comes.
Yep.
And wow. So you blacked out the windows and you said, hey, we're just going to do it. It's like a speakeasy now.
Yeah.
You guys want to work out?
That's exactly, we called it that at one point.
Really?
Yeah,
speakeasy?
It was. There
speakeasy
were
workout.
like underground workouts, underground haircuts. There were all kinds of that stuff going on. It was insane.
That's why, if you just have to think about that, that's just wild.
Yeah.
Like, just for your basic necessities to stay in shape and things like that.
Turns out if you got sunshine and you worked out, you were a little bit more immune to the disease.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow.
And you weren't locked indoors and you weren't allowed to work out.
Yeah.
Well, problems.
Wow. I think we can go on a rabbit hole about that. Damn. I'm not a big fan of it. I will say I do think there's another one going to be coming. I think there's another pandemic that will be coming because of what happened with the first one. So let's see. Let's just see what happens.
Let's see if we handle it better this time.
We shall see.
Yeah.
It depends on who's president.
I think that's true.
Yeah. Definitely depends on them. So you guys now, past COVID, everyone's now out and about in California.
Yep.
Everything's been lifted, and now those are up and running. Those are the only ones really on the West Coast, right? Or
I think there are 2, 4, 5. I think there's 6 in California right now.
No, yeah, because like you said, it was based in Charlotte, mainly East Coast.
Yeah. I think there's about 400 locations open now.
Very cool.
Actually, I think they're approaching 500 locations open now.
Yeah.
So it's expanding pretty quickly at this point. Fitness franchises have rebounded completely from COVID at this point.
Oh my God, yeah. I think the fitness industry, and I'm seeing it more and more, people are taking it a lot more serious.
Yeah.
They're watching what they eat. And I said this multiple times with my son, he's 4.5. He watches or I make sure whatever I give him, I watch very closely. Goldfish now, and if you look, and I swear this is brand new, if you look at any ingredients now, it says what's it say? Bio-grade or bio-engineered food. So it says it's been bio-engineered, the food that's been in there.
Yeah.
So if you look, next time you go to the grocery store, look at the ingredients, and now it says it in bold. You can pick up some goldfish, and it says bio-engineered chemicals in the food.
Interesting.
It's wild. Even her Pedialyte had it. It said bioengineered chemicals. Yeah. Now, I swear that just popped up, in one of these crazy bills. Because I've never, ever seen it say bioengineered food on there. And I steer very far away from it. I'm big on those factor meals now.
Okay.
Have you heard of those?
I have, yep.
So I get those now once a week. It's like $141 lunch and dinner, because I don't eat breakfast. So lunch and dinner, $141. And I'm thinking in my head, well, if you and I went out to dinner, it'd be about $100 right now. So I get 14 meals per week, lunch and dinner for $141. I'm like, I can't beat that.
Yeah.
Like, that's good.
I love them.
I throw them in the microwave, 2 minutes, boom, done.
Yeah, we do pre-made meals all the time. But we switch. Like, we've done factor before.
You got to switch up.
Burn Boot Camp's actually coming out with some in the fall.
Ooh,
and we
no
got to
way.
test drive them. They're actually pretty delicious.
Are they?
Yeah, we're pretty picky about these types of meals.
Yeah, you have to be.
But they're actually really good.
Are they? So they're coming
they're
coming out with their own branding.
Yep.
Ooh, that'll be exciting.
Yeah,
and that's not just for Burn Boot Camp people. That's for everyone.
Yeah, you can just get on the app and order them this fall, I believe.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm going to have to switch it up and
You'll
try
love
it
them,
out.
man. They're good. They're
but
good.
especially with pricing these days, it makes sense. Plus, how busy you and
the
I
time,
are.
dude.
Yeah, I mean, so are you meal prepping, or are you using these type of things?
My wife does some meal prepping on Sunday.
You gotta love her.
Yeah, that's basically it. Every once in a while, I'll volunteer to grill out, but man, it's a time suck, right?
It is.
To feed yourself at home. Like, it sounds...
Even going out, for a lunch meeting, it's like 2 hours. Like, I have to block 2 hours off on my day for a lunch meeting.
Yeah. I mean, trying to cook an individual meal every single night, let alone like lunch as well, and then
you got to clean all that taken in.
It just takes so much time. We don't have time for it.
No, I don't either. That's why I started Factor, where I throw it in 2 minutes, boom, I eat it and I'm done. And I'm like, well, I threw it away. Boom, no cleaning, done. Yeah. I love it. I love it. So you guys are doing great things with the Burn Boot Camp out there. What are you seeing? Let's go back to the real estate market. What are you seeing in the near future? I know we talked about interest rates lowering. What are you seeing? What are you doing right now in the real estate market as well?
Yeah, currently a fund manager for a $20 million fund. It's an ADU fund in California. Okay. So we're doing, basically in California, just like everything else, difficult to do anything, right? Yeah. Like the government's got their hand in everything.
Oh my God,
So very difficult to get any kind of construction done off the ground.
It's mind-boggling. We're buying a car wash in Cape Coral right now, and it's finished.
Yeah.
Well, they came out for the CO. They don't like the garage doors. And so now we have to order new, or the seller, we're buying it from the seller. Seller has to now order new garage doors. It won't be here till end of October. And I'm like, seriously? The garage doors will only be down between 9 o'clock at night and 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, it's the middle of the night. No one's going to even look at them.
Yeah.
Like, and you want these fancy garage, like, come on, really?
Yeah.
So and I can't imagine out in California.
Yeah, and if you get the Coastal Commission involved, it takes literally years and years to do any kind of construction.
Development.
So, anyways, the reason I brought that up is because the ADUs, accessory dwelling units, they actually have a bill in California that they've passed, and they basically just fast track those types of developments. So if you want to add, they view it as a solution to housing. So the lack of housing.
Yeah.
So they let you build on, turn your single family property into a duplex, or even build a
I've heard
separate
about that.
duplex on the property if you have a big enough lot. So you can turn one units into 4
and rent the back out, or rent them all out.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a quick way to get the construction approved, get it done. I don't know how long this window is going to be open.
So you guys taking advantage of it.
So we're taking advantage of it right now.
Love that. Love that. And is your main focus down there in that San Diego market?
It's actually in Riverside County.
Okay.
Yeah.
Riverside
County is just east adjacent of Los Angeles County.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So a little cheaper housing.
Okay.
So it makes a little bit more sense. When you get closer to the coast, it stops making a lot of sense. You got to go for some more creative place.
Cheaper, like $5 million probably.
Yeah. Just a little $5 million.
$5 million. But cheaper housing there. So you guys are finding opportunity. Now, is that bill all for California, where you can do that?
For all of California, and then the local, counties and municipalities can kind of change that, and they can't make it any more restrictive, but they can make it even less restrictive.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And so are you guys doing long-term rentals there, or are you doing short-term like Airbnbs?
Semi-long-term, right? So we're putting in a 10-year fund. So, we're buying the property, we're renovating it, putting ADUs on the properties, and then renting them for a few years, and then unloading them towards the back end of the fund.
I love that. Yeah. Love that. And with these, you're all buying them in the same area?
Yeah. Nice. Riverside County generally. I mean, it's it's spread across
How are you guys finding good deals in this market? You know, it's so hard. Multifamily, you name it, any type of real estate, there's always a huge disconnect between a seller and a buyer. How are you guys finding good deals right now?
My business partners, man, like, I'm handling legal, I'm working with some capital, I'm advising on raising capital, those sorts of things. But my business partners are real estate brokers, and they've actually been doing this type of thing, identifying properties that are perfect for ADUs for a number of years at this point. So they're the main source. They get first look.
I love that. How is it finding, great business partners? You know, it's just like a marriage. You got to test it out. You got to see how it is, because a business partnership is like a marriage. How is it, and how'd you guys link up?
Yeah, networking events. So I met these business partners actually at a Wealth Without Wall Street event that I was speaking at.
Nice.
Yeah, so I met them, hit it off with them. I think I've been in good and bad business partnership relationships.
Yeah. I think you have to go through bad ones.
You do.
Because if you don't go through bad ones, you don't know what can happen to you. Mm-hmm. And I would rather go through bad ones early on to make sure that if we went into business, we have the right contract, the right verbiage, all of that in place. Because at the end of the day, again, just like if you would get married, you're signing a contract to your wife.
Yep.
In most circumstances, I highly recommend sign a prenup. I'm not a big fan. I don't believe in marriage, but business partnership is a marriage.
Yeah, it is. It is. And building off of that, like, you have to like the person, I think, that you're going into business.
Oh, 100%. You have to hang out with them. Like, you have to be very cordial, talk. You guys have to like the same things. If you just like a relationship, if you guys don't like the same things, if one party likes working out, the other one doesn't, other one doesn't eat healthy, the other one eats healthy, like, that's not going to work out.
It's not a long-term business partnership, right? Like, it can't just be transactional. Maybe short-term, really quick turnaround time. But if it's going to be a long-term business partnership, you got to like that person.
100%.
You gotta genuinely like him. You're like, hey, I like this dude. I'll go have a beer with him. This is great.
I'll travel with him. My business partner, we travel around the world together. Yep. We hang out together. We go to the same events together. We like the same things. Yep. It's amazing.
That's a super important part, because I think back to communication is huge, right?
It's everything.
And if you don't like that person, it's going to feel forced and awkward and kind of going over a hump to try to communicate with them. And that's the key. You got to stay transparent. You got to communicate, because, again, if you have that separation, you're not communicating, you're not transparent, who knows what the other person's doing at that point.
Oh, agreed. Most definitely. I mean, my business partner, we talk about 25 times a day.
Yeah.
And most of it's business, but other thing is personal. Hey, how's the family doing? How the kids doing? Anything going on, blah, blah, blah. But it's super important to also let your business partner know what's going on with you personally.
For sure.
I think that's important as well. Because if you're going through, knock on wood, something with your marriage, I need to know that, I feel. Even if it's getting a little rough, I need you to say, hey, my marriage is getting a little rough, because I need to know, okay, if you're not here at business 100%, I'm going to step up 120% to make sure that we're still good. I think that's important.
For sure. And we do that even with, like, our team. So I love that. With Burn Boot Camp, with some other businesses that we have leadership meetings, and we make sure that everyone shares kind of personal things, what's going on, keeping that transparent relationship up, because it's important. It affects your personal life, affects your business life as much as you don't want it to.
Most definitely. No, you're spot on there. So I always say not all chefs should own the restaurant. Not all attorneys should own their own practice. Yeah. What has really helped you to really own your own business and go through the trial and errors and things like that to survive COVID, to run a successful law firm, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the key things for entrepreneurs and people starting businesses, you got to be a little bit crazy, right? You got to be a little bit crazy. You got to be willing to take risks, right? You got to assess risks and take them. You can't be afraid to just go out there and take action and do it. I think that attorneys, on the other hand, are trained not to take risks, right? They are trained to assess the risks, but they're really leaning towards
risk averse.
Right?
They're
risk
really
averse. Really leaning towards no, whereas an entrepreneur is leaning towards yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that I strike a really good balance between those two.
That's good.
And I think that's what allows me to be an attorney at heart, but then, I'll also be an entrepreneur and take risks. And I think that's what my business partners appreciate as well.
I love that.
I figure out how can we do it rather than can we do it, right? Yeah. Like that most attorneys will be like, well, we can't do it because of this, or I advise you not to do it because of that. I will say, look, we can do it. Here's how.
Yep.
Right? And here are the risks.
Oh, most definitely.
And now you as the business partner, if you're my partner, we need to decide, is it worth it or not?
Yeah.
Right? Because there's always risk involved. So do you want to take that
no
risk or
matter
not?
what you do, there's risk. You just have to make sure you take the calculated risk.
That's right.
You know, and sometimes you may think it's calculated at that point in the moment, and it turns out to not be.
Right.
So you have to have the ability to pivot very quickly, like you guys did with COVID. You have to have the ability to handle that stress and handle that pressure so you can power through.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I love that. Where do you see, you think, where do you see yourself, growing TriVest? Where do you see yourself with that and on to the future?
Yeah, so I joined TribeVest July of last year.
Nice.
So it's been about 1 year, and we have really developed this fund of fund in a box model, right? Like you've probably heard about how the market is really shifting from the co-GP model, right, to the fund of funds because the SEC is kind of, they kind of started investigating some people. And, these folks that had these co-GPs that were just raising capital and not doing anything else, which everyone knows you're not supposed to do, but everybody does it anyways, started looking for another solution. And the fund of funds model has always been it is the solution. It's always been the solution. It's not a new thing. It's just a more...
people didn't know of it at the time, at a high level.
Yeah, and honestly, it's more complicated. It's more expensive. It's more expensive, and there's just a lot more things that go into it. So people just took the easy route, did the quote unquote co-GP route, and it I guess I'll say that it worked up until this point, right? Like I guess you could say you got away with it or what have you, but the market is shifting or has shifted to the fund of fund models.
Yeah,
Everything is fund of funds now.
That's all I'm seeing is fund of funds models, training programs, and fund of funds, things like that. It's definitely questionable. I think as an investor, I would ask if I'm talking to a sponsor, hey, are you the lead sponsor or are you a fund of funds? Right. Because in my eyes, you're paying double fees, to get into those opportunities. Don't get me wrong. People need to make money. People are giving you great opportunities to invest and build your capital. But there's definitely questions I feel like definitely needs to be involved.
Yeah, I mean, there's always questions, right? I mean, even when everyone was using the co-GP model, it's like, well, who's actually the operating partner? Who's the lead sponsor? Who's actually going to execute the business plan after we close on this property? And I think a lot of co-GPs were kind of masquerading as the operating partner, like, hey, this is my deal. I found the property. I'm going to be doing this, executing this business plan. In reality, there's a lead sponsor who found the deal, who's signing the loan documents, who's going to execute the business plan. And sometimes those passive investors don't even know. They don't even know. And fund manager, like you said, kind of same. It's the same thing, right? The fund manager should not be representing that they're the operating partner or something or anything like that. I know at TribeVest, we really emphasize that because the vehicle that we use is an SPV fund of fund, where the fund of fund is designed only to invest in one specific deal. So we're not. It's not a discretionary fund where
you can do whatever you want.
We can do whatever you want. Invest,
multiple deals or anything.
It is one deal. So you're really just serving as a conduit to invest in a target deal. So it's very clear to the passive investors.
Very specific.
If you invest in this fund of fund, all your capital is going into this deal. And we disclose those deal documents as well. So those offering documents are an exhibit to the fund of fund offering documents.
Most definitely. No, I think that's super important. And we have a fund that we've put together for car washes. And before we really truly launch the fund, we have those deals locked under. And we're like, look, these are the deals. We may add some more deals, but these are the specific deals that we are buying and that the capital's going into.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's super important. So you guys are really taking advantage of this opportunity out in California. You see it definitely growing, with your guys' portfolio out there.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the fund of funds model, we've made it affordable, right? So the problems with it were that it's complicated. It's expensive. Those are the two biggest things. You've got to get if you're a fund manager who used to be a co-GP, depending on the lead sponsor to do everything for you, now you've got to do all those things.
Yeah, accounting, all bookkeeping, all of that.
You got to open a business banking account. You got to form your LLC. You've got to find a securities attorney. You've got to find a CPA. You've got to manage your investors. You've got to find a platform. All those things that the lead sponsor usually does.
Yeah, and then you're gonna have to pay, depending on the attorney, anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000.
Absolutely.
On average, some are even $50,000 from what I hear. But normally, the head attorney who's running the whole syndication will have a deal where you can do a fund of funds at a cheaper amount.
That's right.
But it's gonna cost maybe $15,000, $20,000 for you as a fund manager to open up your own fund.
Right, and that some co-GPs, former co-GPs, can't really raise capital, right? Like they go into a deal and they say, hey, I can raise $1 million easy. And then they come up with $100,000 or zero. Yeah. Right. So if you do that with a fund of funds, Well, now you owe an attorney $15,000 or $25,000, and you didn't raise any capital. You're screwed. That's a lot of money out of your pocket when you
Almost,
weren't
yeah.
able to get paid on that deal.
Yep.
But what we've done at TriVest is combine all those things together.
Love that.
With TriVest, it's a fund-to-fund in a box. It's basically done for you, kind of a done for you program. You know, you get your K1s. We open your business banking account. We form your LLC. We do your offering documents. We onboard your investors.
Wow.
So we send out electronic signatures of the offering documents. "Quote unquote," herding the cats, right?
Yeah.
Getting them to wire their funds, basically taking the place of an investor relations
Which I will
person.
tell you, I love our investors that will sign and wire right then and there. But we do have those some that will sign, and then the wire is like pulling teeth.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it comes to a point where I'm like, look, like I feel like I'm stepping my boundaries by keep asking you, hey, wire your capital. We need to
Right.
close. Like,
Yep.
you know, it's very difficult sometimes.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I can feel for him a little bit, especially the first time around.
Oh, first time
wiring
around,
that
definitely.
$50,000, you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, this is crazy.
Oh,
wiring it to
100%.
a stranger or somebody you might have just had a couple of contacts
Yeah,
with.
or
and that's
you know,
it,
we
but-
we advertise heavily on social media. We only accept accredited investors as a
Yep.
506c, so we can advertise.
Great
we
move.
advertise heavily on social media. I don't actually, to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever done a 506b.
That's awesome. That's
yeah,
that's
I
the
don't
place
think
to
I
play.
have.
I
I think
always
I've only
counsel
done 506Cs.
people to do 506c and only accept accredited investors. That's going
Yeah.
to keep you safe.
Yeah, 100%. You know, and it's a lot easier. But yeah, you know, I think it's super important to go that route. And even with those new investors, I definitely understand. You know, 50, 200, 300, 500,000 is a lot of capital from someone you met on social media. That's why you ask the right questions. That's why you get references. You understand the business model, business strategy. And at the end of the day, though, you have to take a risk. You
Yep.
have to take a risk and a leap.
Got to pull
to
the
invest.
trigger and just do it.
Yep.
Got to
most
take
definitely.
action.
I love that you guys are doing that all in one. I think that's huge.
Yeah, yeah. And going back to pricing, man, the last law firm that I worked at,
Yeah.
huge law firm, top 3 law firm in the world, we charged $75,000
Are you bullshit?
out of the gate for a set of now this was at the lead sponsor level,
Yeah.
but a lead sponsor set of
75,000.
documents, and that's just for the initial drafts, and then it's charged per hour.
No
after.
way.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
just to get
unbelievable.
started. Just
Yeah.
to get started.
People don't realize how expensive
Right.
creating a fund is. It's expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. And then some people, there are, these boutique firms. I mean, even my boutique firm, we do it at a much lower cost. And people are like, whoa, that's so expensive because they just haven't seen it. I'm like, you have no idea how expensive
you've
it
seen.
actually can be.
Oh, I know. Do you see yourself going in any other practice of law?
Oh, I don't think so. Securities is where it's at, man. I mean, I'm a fund manager. I've syndicated deals myself as a lead sponsor. I've worked as a securities attorney now for a number of years. So it's kind of where my interests and my legal practice have kind of combined.
How do you keep up with your energy and your mindset? Your high energy, your great mindset. How do you keep up with that and cultivate that?
Man, I think, we kind of touched on it before, but we didn't quite get around to it. A lot of it is just trying to take care of yourself, staying healthy, man, getting sleep. That's super important, right? I think a lot of entrepreneurs run themselves into the ground and they don't sleep. Man, I don't care what time I get to bed. I'm sleeping 7 hours. So I set my alarm clock for 7 hours after I
Really? You do that?
after I lay down.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm complete opposite.
Oh, yeah?
No matter what time I go to bed, I wake up at 6 a.m. No matter what time.
Yeah.
Stephanie can tell you I'll send her emails at 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. So you might get 2 hours, you might get 10 hours.
Yep. No, never 10. No, never over 7.
Okay.
I can't get over 7 hours.
Yeah.
If I get over 7 hours, I feel groggy. I feel like I've wasted my day.
Yeah. Has
Even
the
on
opposite effect.
Even on Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah.
I will wake up, boom.
Yeah.
And, if whoever's in the bed, my girl who's in the bed, I'm in my office at the home working.
Yeah.
At 6 a.m. on a Saturday.
Yeah.
That's how I'm wired.
Yeah.
If we get home at 1 o'clock from an evening, out with friends,
Yeah.
which I rarely do, 6 a.m. I'm
Yeah.
up, ready to go.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I think what helps, I don't drink.
Yeah.
Don't drink alcohol.
Yeah.
I don't care to.
Yeah.
I drink water. I drink too much lattes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't drink alcohol, and I think that's helped tremendously.
I'm sure it
with
has,
not
man.
being in my system.
Yeah, there's a huge movement now, right, towards
Oh my
not
God.
drinking.
What's this new?
It's
There's
huge.
this new drink everyone's getting. It's not. It's we all know a virgin drink, meaning
Yeah.
no alcohol, but a mocktail.
Oh yeah.
I'm hearing this everywhere. Everyone's just saying they're getting mocktails
Yeah.
because they don't want to drink anymore.
There's like mocktail bars.
There
They don't even
are.
serve- they
I
don't
think
even
there's
serve
some in
alcohol.
Charlotte that
Yeah.
are mocktail bars, and they don't serve any alcohol at all.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, again, I don't know if it was COVID or whatever, but a lot of people are very conscious with their health. They're watching what they eat. Even, with, going to these grocery stores. Next time you go to a grocery store, look at that. This is bioengineered chemicals. A lot of people are watching that and what they're putting into their system.
For sure. People are much more aware of it. I mean, I'm a drinker. I do drink.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah, but I did dry January, and honestly, you can tell. I mean, you're poisoning your body with alcohol. I think at this point, everybody understands that. They realize that. Yeah. And they choose either to do it or not. Yeah. But it is poison to your body. I mean, that's what it is.
At the end of the day, it is. And for me personally, I don't care to wake up feeling groggy or anything like that. I care to wake up feeling great, thriving and ready to go.
Yep.
But alcohol does do that. Alcohol will do that to you, and you'll definitely see the weight. I mean, my lattes, I see my lattes at my lower stomach, and I'm like, I got to do more abs, got to eat healthier. And
got to drink the black coffee, man.
I do. So I drink the black coffee, but when I'm out and about, I'll stop and get a latte.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just love these lattes.
Yeah. I drink a ton of coffee, so mostly black coffee.
At home, I'll make black coffee. 100% at home, black coffee. But if I'm out and about, traveling or something like that, I'm like, got to give me a latte.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, man, I mean, it's staying healthy. You got to keep yourself healthy to be able to perform mentally.
Yeah,
right?
And you have to. Yeah. You have to these days, especially with all this bioengineered, chemicals, all this type of food out there that is just unhealthy for you. You have to really watch what you eat.
For sure. You got to get that workout in. I mean, if I don't work out for like 2 days in a row, I'm going like stir crazy.
Oh, I am too. Yeah. I am too. I work out every single day, and even if I can't get a full hard workout in, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna walk around the block.
Something
like I'm gonna, and I now have a treadmill under my desk where I'm like, I'm gonna at least walk 1 mile.
Yeah.
Because I know I can't get a full workout in at the gym today, so I'm at least gonna walk 1 mile because I have to keep my body doing something.
For sure. There's something about it. It just clears your mind out, right? Like
it does.
It gives you clarity by working out. And when you don't work out for a couple of days, man, it's just like
oh my God,
I just feel foggy.
No, 100%. You don't feel sharp.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the sauna and the steam room.
Yeah.
I love a nice sauna in the steam room. I do it before I work out and after I work out, and I can stay in there for 30 minutes each.
Yeah.
Like I love it in there.
Yeah.
But I think, adopting that, I'm looking into that red light therapy. I don't know if you've looked into it.
I've heard of it. I've seen it, but I haven't done a ton of research on it yet.
I've done some research on it. I'm doing more on it though. I don't know enough to be dangerous, but it's definitely everything I'm reading is very highly beneficial.
Now you can get that like built into the sauna, right? I've seen
if you get the home sauna too. See, I'm bougie. I work out at Lifetime.
Yeah.
They don't have it there, but hopefully they do soon. But yeah, you can get one of those home saunas that also have the red light therapy in it.
Yeah.
I think that's huge. From what I've done with research, it's very beneficial for your body.
There you go. Yeah. Let me know what you find out.
I will. I'll definitely let you know on that. So I love what you guys are doing out in LA, really maximizing what that current law is out there. Do you see yourself, you guys possibly getting into the multifamily space of large multifamily? Because I know that's what, when you and I first met, we were doing that, all that. You see yourself going back into that route?
Sure, man. I mean, when the market makes sense, and I'm not saying it doesn't make sense, but I don't have a fully built out team, right? That's able to find and identify great deals, and that takes a lot.
It takes time, effort, all that.
Exactly. So I don't have that fully built out team, but when it makes sense to partner with somebody that does have that team, and I like the deal, certainly.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you. I think right now there's still a huge disconnect. I will have to agree with Grant Cardone on this, is that I watched a video and he said right now it's going to be very difficult to push rents, which I've said before and I agree with. He's given a timeline about 2026. And then from there, he feels that rents are going to skyrocket substantially.
Yeah.
I feel, right now it's going to be very difficult to push rents. You're not going to be able to for a good couple years. So how are you underwriting? Back in the day, right after COVID with the cap rate compression, everyone's underwriting 4, 5, 7% rent growth, every single year. And it's like, you can't do that now.
Right. Yeah.
And that's when I saw the writing on the wall. And then from there, if that it's going to be like that for the next couple of years till 2026, after that, is it going to spike or is it not? There's going to be a lot of supply coming on the market. What's it going to look like?
Right. It's unpredictable, man. It's tough. Anybody that tells you that they know the answer, they're lying. They don't know. They might be taking a good guess, but they don't know. They don't know.
I think you're going to see a lot of people switch asset classes like we did. We're in the car wash sector. We're going to stay in the car wash sector. Will we get into hospitality or retail here in Charlotte?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be dumb not to get into retail here in Charlotte or hospitality. We all know Charlotte's booming. It's a wild city. So, getting our hands on great property, great real estate, it may make sense.
Yeah. You got to stay nimble. You got to stay nimble. You can't just stay in one vertical, one industry, one asset type just because that's, what you've done in the past.
Correct.
That might not make sense right now in today's market.
I think
right?
we saw a lot of sponsors in 2023 get into that situation
Yep.
where, they were all in multifamily and they couldn't pivot as fast enough.
Right.
And now they all have coaching programs or
Yeah.
they're all doing something else, because they have to keep the lights on. At the end of the day, acquisitions feeds to keep the lights on and the employees in the office.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of folks felt pressured to stay in multifamily because they've always preached it, right?
Yeah.
They've preached to their investors, multifamily's it. Like that, this is the thing, the only thing, right? And now they're going to go and, what if I pivot and say that, car washes or something? And they had trouble kind of changing their message.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, that's fine. You can change your message. You can change your message.
Data is always coming to us.
Yeah.
Every single second, we got these cell phones that are pushing data to us. And if you find data that's valuable enough to make a pivot, do it.
Right.
That's what we did. We said, look, multifamily doesn't make sense. It's not going to make sense for the next 3 to 4 years, in our opinion. It's going to be very difficult to push rents.
Yep.
So if you want cash flow, you come invest with us with our multifamily or our car washes.
Yeah.
They are high cash flow and great thing. They're also high tax benefits.
Right.
So if you want high cash flow and high tax benefits, come invest in our car washes.
Yep.
But multifamily doesn't make sense right now.
Yep.
Exactly. We say
That's
it all
what
the
we're
time.
doing with ADUs. We're like, look, there's a very small window, we think, here in California where we can maximize the value of these single family properties that are on a decent sized lot.
Yeah.
And we can crush it in this. But and this is the way to go instead of multifamily right now because the market is different.
100%.
It's different. If this were 4 years ago, nothing has changed, right? 4 years ago, multifamily was right, and it has been, but now it might not be.
Most definitely. And I think it's super important to keep your investors well educated ahead of time because you're going to raise and don't get me wrong. We have investors that have been with us for all 6 years since we've had the company. And some of them are like, hey, it's a new asset class. We want to see how you do.
Yeah, sure.
Then we have someone's like, hey, we've been with you 6 years here. Take it. We know you're going to do good.
Exactly.
So they're all going to have a different appetite. And it's just very important to keep them well educated.
Yep.
And it goes back. Communication.
For sure.
Communicate with them. Not only you're communicating with them on the deals that you have, but communicate with them with what your company's doing.
Yeah.
What you're pivoting to, what you're seeing in the market.
Yep.
We went from monthly updates to all of our investor base, not just so all of our sites we do bi-weekly, but with all of our investors that are in our database, we now do every Saturday at 12 o'clock. You get our Saturday edition of our weekly update.
Yeah.
So we're updating you on a weekly basis now on just general stuff. What's going on in the market? What are we seeing? What are we reading? Everything. So you can be well adversed and knowledgeable about the space.
Yeah, for sure. And I think in this environment, it makes sense, right?
100%.
Because it's a lot more unpredictable now, and especially during an election year than it was, let's say, a few years ago when everything's just through the roof. Everything's just going up. You can tell me today what it's going to be next week and next month. Guess what? Everything's going up. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
But now
It's like Bitcoin. You don't know.
Right.
You don't
Now
know,
it's different.
Yeah, every single day is a new day. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's super important because we have a crazy election coming up.
Yeah.
Especially with the events that have occurred.
Yep.
With both sides of the party, we have a crazy election coming up. So, it's also going to create a crazy market environment. Like I said, I think Powell's going to drop rates 1/4 point before the election happens.
I think so.
And one party's going to say, look,
Yeah.
they're doing the job.
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to be a wild election. I think wildest election we've ever seen. But I think it's also important to go out there and whoever you want to vote for, go vote. I think that's super important because that will dictate how the economy is going to be situated in 2025 and beyond.
Yeah, agreed.
So, Seth, wealth of knowledge. I love what you guys are doing in California. When you get back out here, I know you only get back out here about once a year.
Yeah.
But when you get back out here, let's have you back on the podcast to hear
man.
what you guys, have accomplished out there in the California market with a very niche opportunity that you're seeing that the government's allowing. So I love what you guys are doing out there. Let's stay in touch. I really enjoyed you coming on.
Absolutely, man.
Thanks so much,
Appreciate it.
man.
All right, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to the Chris Salerno Show. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained valuable insight to help you along your journey. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any questions or topics that you would like to cover, feel free to reach out directly to me. Shoot me a message on Instagram at Chris_Salerno_. Until next time, keep pushing forward and stay inspired.